It was a trial, deliberate, cunning, and chilly. In the stillness of a grand marble-floored residence, under a sparkling chandelier, with the gentle ticking of an old clock, a vault stood, ajar in the master's office. Inside, piles of money were stacked like emerald, blocks of allure gleaming next to chains of gold and jewels. He knew she'd walk through here. He knew her routine to the second. The man, a tycoon twice over, stood concealed just past the corridor's archway, eyes narrowed not with fury, but with hushed expectation. And yet, as he observed his housekeeper step into the room and halt before the open vault, he never foresaw that the next few moments would completely undo him, cracking open a heart he thought was long sealed. If you trust in second chances, in the subtle strength of compassion, and in the resolve of character that can transform lives, then stop here. Like this video, subscribe to Kindness Tales Stories and share this tale. Let the world know that honor still thrives where no one's looking. The housekeeper's name was Emma, 32, petite, quiet, with deep hazel eyes that carried the burden of untold stories. She'd been working at the Blackwell estate for just over 7 months. A widow with 2 young girls and a mother fighting cancer, Emma was the sort who glided through sorrow in silence. Each morning she arrived before dawn, tying her dark hair into a neat bun, slipping into her plain uniform and starting her duties without grumble or pause. To most, she was unseen, a shadow behind polished trays and gleaming marble. But to Nathan Blackwell, the solitary tycoon who'd inherited riches but never found peace, Emma was an enigma that began to stir him. Nathan had spent his life building and guarding his fortune. People had robbed him, deceived him, exploited him. His ex-wife claimed a fortune in their divorce. Past employees drained funds, all these turned greedy. And so he built barriers, iron ones, around his safe and emotional ones around his soul. When Emma arrived, something about her stood out. She didn't flatter. She didn't pry. She never stayed in rooms beyond her tasks. And every record, every check, showed her as impeccably honest. It unsettled Nathan, how her integrity felt, almost daunting, too pure to believe. That's when he crafted the trial. One Wednesday morning, just before her scheduled cleaning of the office, Nathan left the vault wide open. He'd told his security team to pause the hallway, cameras briefly. No one would know this moment occurred except him. He wanted to see what Emma would do when faced with irresistible lure. Would she waver? Would she take? Or was she truly as steadfast as she seemed? Emma entered the room precisely at 8:42 a.m. She didn't notice the vault at first, not until sunlight struck the steel door, casting a glare across the shined floor. She froze mid-step, her duster still in her gloved hand. Her gaze darted to the vault, then swiftly to the corridor. No one. Quiet. Her breath hitched. For a long moment she stood motionless, staring at the open safe as if questioning its reality. Nathan's heart raced. He watched as she approached cautiously, tentatively. Her fingers lingered just above the piles of cash, then touched nothing. Instead, she pulled the cleaning cloth from her apron and gently began wiping the safe's edge, careful not to disturb a single stack inside. She didn't count the money. She didn't glance around covetously. She simply cleaned the steel with the same care she gave every surface in the residence. And then something unforeseen happened. Emma reached into her pocket and drew out a small folded photo, worn and faded. She glanced at the corridor again as if ensuring solitude and placed the photo on the shelf beside the money. It showed 2 little girls, perhaps 7 and 5, beaming in front of a hospital bed where an older woman smiled faintly. Emma whispered something too soft for even the hidden Nathan to catch. Then gently, she retrieved the photo, kissed it, and slipped it back into her pocket. She shut the vault door. Nathan retreated into the shadows, stunned. He wasn't sure what he'd anticipated. A quick grab, a stolen bill, perhaps a moment's hesitation. But what he saw was reverence, pain, and love wrapped in restraint. He turned and walked away before she could see the tears welling in his eyes. That night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He kept reliving the moment, the photo, the quiet kiss, the untouched vault. The weight of it pressed on his chest, like a truth he wasn't ready to face. It wasn't about the trial anymore. It was about her, about the kind of character he'd spent his life doubting existed. He realized he'd judged everyone through, the scars of his past nearly missing, the rare goodness standing quietly in his home. The next morning, Emma found a letter on the kitchen counter, addressed to her in Nathan's precise, bold handwriting. Inside was a brief note. Honor is invaluable. So is peace. You've given me both. Your daughters and mother deserve a life free of fear. Please accept the enclosed without guilt. It's not a reward, it's gratitude. Attached was a blank, signed check, ready for her. Emma sank into the nearest chair, dazed. Tears streamed down her face. Her hands trembled as she clutched the letter to her heart. In that moment, the burden she'd carried for years lifted slightly. Her mother's treatment, her girl's schooling, the threat of eviction, it could all fade. Not because she begged or stole, but because she chose what was right when no one watched. That weekend, Nathan visited her home, not as her boss, but as a friend. He sat at her modest wooden table, played with her daughters, and brought papers to help her buy a new home in a safer area. He offered her a new role, head of household operations, with full benefits and a schedule that let her care for her family. But more than that, he gave something rare for a man like him: trust. Sometimes the truest trials are passed in silence with unseen choices. Sometimes the wealthiest people aren't those with overflowing vaults, but those who live in truth, even unwatched. If this tale touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales Stories. We share true, emotional stories that show humanity's quiet strength. Drop a comment below if you believe one act of honor can change everything. And before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you do if no one was watching?